catch it. I'm not super smart, so I'm just like, how sick would I be? Think about it, that's not good.
I didn't get it.
I don't know.
I don't, I mean, Tia's had it, since. I'm mine. Excellent.
That's not gonna be good.
I mean, there have been days that I felt under the weather, you know, but it's not, it only lasts about 24 hours or something.
It's one of those people.
You know what?
Then,
I think I talked myself out of it.
but it's-
You know, I mean, I have had the flu before, that you didn't know which end to stick the toilet. And I'm like, that's, yeah. You know,
I was like that too. He explains he's not sick for.
Until it's, you can't deny it anymore.
Can you hear us okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
He's still expecting Todd to come.
Oh, I need to turn this off. We'll get started shortly. We're waiting for Mike to come down here with some print offs with the agenda. So, and then Todd just showed up. So I'll call this meeting to order shortly.
All right. What I'll do, Tron, is I'll hang around here for about like 15 minutes after you go ahead and start, and I think you should be good from there. Unless you need me to stick around for the whole meeting.
No, I'll shut it down. I don't know if there's another shutdown you do,
Nope.
but
Nope, you just leave. That's all you got to do. I'll just invite people as they come in for the next 15 minutes or so. I think you
Okay.
should be good.
Yes.
perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Awesome.
It comes in anywhere.
And I guess everyone has the ability to unmute, right?
No, you'll have to click on them, and then you'll have to click on the microphone status and grant them access to be heard, or make them a presenter.
Okay, sounds good.
I'm thinking like, maybe I should actually start using that first, because it seems like
Oh, no.
it's working a lot better, but I haven't transitioned to that because I don't like. Which is how I usually.
It's self.
Well, I have stuff.
If you're.
Cell, I'm usually off of Ace, using Cell. It's just the network has been,
You're not using radio.
usually not, usually using Cell. I don't need radio. I only need it to not say no service. It doesn't really. You don't need a space if you have no cell.
Yeah, well,
I'm here.
Hey, Elijah, there's a meeting guest, and I'm not sure
Go back out.
who that is, and they have like a video feed of,
Oh yeah, it's a different. It's like a weird mode. Hang on.
okay, I just was hoping that we weren't getting spam.
No, no.
All right. I'm gonna run down
It's something
the,
that can be accidentally enabled. I forget exactly how it's caused, but you can just click on the little icons and just remove it from the meeting as if it were a person. It's a weird mirroring mode. I can't remember how it gets enabled, but yeah, all you can do is click on the little dots and just remove it.
okay, perfect. Thanks for
It'll
that.
say remove attendee, but it's not a real person. It's just mirroring the video.
Okay, sounds good.
Yep.
Well, we have everyone here. I'll go ahead and call to order the Monroe County Surveyor Review Board meeting for Tuesday, September 17th, 2024. I will indicate that we have all board members present, Rachel Ozer, Todd Boardman, and Eric Deckard. I will go ahead and ask for approval of the agenda.
Agenda?
We have a motion and a second, and since everyone's here in person, we can do a voice vote. And all in favor, say aye. All right, hearing all three members, that's a unanimous decision, motion passed. Here is the beginning of the other packet, so when we get into the details, I'll have my digital copy, but I'm gonna go ahead and keep this agenda.
You want to be caretaker of that?
All right. So we'll move right on for approval of minutes from August 2024. We have members present, Eric Deckard and Rachel Ozer. Did you want to look at the minutes, Eric?
This was just the entire packet of everything.
Yeah, this is
Except for, was that C17 that we, which one was it we tabled?
C17, correct?
Motion to approve. August 20.
We'll give a little time on that motion. Now let's do a voice. Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'll do, instead of voice vote, roll call. Eric Deckard,
Yes.
Todd Boardman,
Stay.
Rachel Ozer. All right, motion passed. That's 2 to 0 and 1 abstention. All right. So moving right along, we have new business, office update. First, I'm not sure if Ethan has the ability to unmute. He is our part-time field technician, and he's joining us to watch kind of some of how these monuments get approved. Hey, there he is. Do you want to say hi real quick while you have the floor?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Good to be here.
Nice. Yeah, and thanks for attending. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. So thanks for attending.
Thank you.
And then Jason George is online if you have any questions. I don't think we'll need to get him to chime in unless you have anything you want to add, Jason. I think I did promote you to unmute yourself at any time. I'm going to do that for Donna real quick before we get too far ahead. So if she needs to say anything, she has the ability. Oh, it looks like you're already set up, so you should be able to.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So we added item B on here. It'll be kind of a standard to our agenda, and that's just board member questions. I think as we move forward, this kind of the impetus of adding this to the agenda was, occasionally y'all have questions, and we'd like to make ourselves available. And when we can pull, 4 licensed surveyors in one room to look at something, I think it'd be easy to have a 5-10 minute conversation. I'd leave it to the board member to bring kind of, surveys and other things that are for the discussion point. But we just want to, I guess, kind of create that environment where, if you're just scratching your head at something and you want to discuss it, or if you just have any other general questions. So, that's why you see the board member questions on there. We'll move along. This, is kind of in line with that, but this is more for our ability to ask board member questions. So, Mike, if you like, go ahead. We're on Bean Blossom K.
Oh, KO9, yeah, I was wanting to have a discussion on KO9 before I make a final call, and be honest with you, there's kind of two ways I could look at it, and I'm kind of good with either way. In 2000, Michael Mundy established that at the intersection of fences,
This is not,
south corner of 9 and 2 west.
and this isn't on the survey today.
It's not yet, I've been there and before I I've found, but anyhow, at this time, I can't really make out an intersection of fences, but I'm 24 years down the road, it's in a low area, it's been flooded. Then in 08, Eric, you actually held that intersection of fences also. But then in 07, there was a BRG survey that came in and set a pin proportionately between the two section corners. The resultant is about 7.5 feet difference. The survey they sent me is not signed by anybody. They said they don't know what happened, if it never got completed.
You find her.
Fountain pen, it's not in great condition. It's kind of it's there. It either needs, if we do accept it, we probably need to be driving new one or beat it down a little bit. It's kind of been south corner of 9, north corner of 16.
At 7.5 feet. East west or?
It was 6 feet south, 4.5 east. The difference from the Mundy intersection to the pin is south 3707 east, 7.5. So Mundy intersection will be 6 feet south of the pin and 4.5 east. Yeah, Eric. You've actually done it both ways. Then you had in 2011, you relied on the pin. No, this is in a little ravine that's just a little washout.
So they can't see the difference.
So this says Gwen. Okay, that's Caleb's.
Like I say, it's one of those, I could go either way. If I could see a fence intersection, I'd really be inclined to do that, but you can pick a fence all over the place with a metal detector, but you can't physically see. Across those lines, yeah.
West of the center section. So this time, wait. No, wait, that's how we calculate the center section.
Correct.
This one here, I was retracing, this was not a BRG, which would have been,
The survey in your hand. It looks like it was set up for Ben Bledsoe to sign, but he never did.
And silver and those. Those are like one of my when I first started there.
You was trying to get GPS.
He was training. All I remember is stinging.
That, do you remember that spot? Have you been there?
Well, I was in the field there. All I remember is stinging nettles, but
Because that
In a-
spot is
like
very,
leaning down into some nettles.
that spot, we introduced Ethan to stinging nettles in that spot. He's like, what is this stuff?
Well, they were bad enough to, they were just going right through your pants.
Yes, yes, they're very bad in that area.
This is the case.
You want the light?
I just feel like we need to pick one or the other and
I mean, it seemed like
be
the,
done.
so the fence intersection could have just been him picking up remnants and projecting them to an
From,
intersection
I went
as
through,
opposed to a post or something.
I went through his notes and that's what it appeared. Appeared he had taken a couple different shots in different places.
So there could be some uncertainty
Absolutely,
in that.
absolutely. Honestly, the fence that I saw was tree to tree and it was probably 20 feet south of there. But I couldn't really make out a
Distinct
distinct
line.
line. And that was up on the hill. In the valley itself, there's just,
Here's my gut on this is, like you said, at the time, the rebar didn't exist up here at this intersection, so that was Monday's best evidence at the time. Then BRG comes through. I'm retracing because I'm finding the BRG here and also
yeah, Gwen, that's down in the center of the section. We've got it.
Can I see this bottom
Yeah.
one? How we can-
yeah, and that's a messy little town as far as
Sure.
retracing.
And I guess some of the internal conversations, and then me and, Mike talked about this one just, before the meeting. I think could be very helpful, by bringing this to the board, getting their feedback is kind of figuring out, not necessarily a standard, but a way to weigh different evidence or different approaches of how to hold a corner. And we're gonna keep encountering this, so you know, this isn't one for certification, but it does impact the
It's like-
survey.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna impact the survey he's working, so like,
So
it's a tough, it's a heavy conversation because, you know, this one right here, what, 7 foot of
7.5 feet.
7.5 feet of uncertainty, but we're gonna hit other areas in the county that are gonna be quite significantly larger. And I think coming to the board, trying to get some feedback, will, help Mike with his determination of what position to hold as we're doing this in-house work.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if I could walk in there and see a fence intersection, I would stand behind it, but I walk in there and go, did he just, I don't know. Did he just take a couple shots? 24 years ago, I don't know what it looks like, you know, I can't.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, if there wasn't a pin, you would probably put it back based on the fence intersection, like you said, right?
Right.
But
Which is kind of like a creek bed. So is the pin that's there now. There's kind of a big washed out gravelly creek bed, so to speak. That's why the pin that's there now is in pretty poor condition. It's been washed over too and it's had a log hit it and bent it.
I wonder why you didn't have those two BRG rebars. I mean, you didn't have their survey, so you wouldn't have there.
up here to the north, this
So
one
this is
here.
the year after.
This one here,
Yeah.
this was, June of '07,
This is June of 08.
BRG.
But then you do have theirs. I mean, you didn't know it was here and maybe they didn't get it to setting the pins till a couple years later and then it still never got stamped.
But it's not signed or of record.
Yeah.
The record.
I didn't-
Exactly.
But then you found the pin later when you were
Yeah,
out there. So my
that's what-
guess is maybe
well-
that pin wasn't actually set yet in 08 and it got set by them.
Because we were retracing the survey further north, and now we're running across the BRG pins up here.
Did you have K11 on that one?
K11, no, I'm in it at K11. So my gut feel on something like this is, one, we was trying to figure out, you know, this Highland Park addition it was a combination of a meets and bounds and a platted subdivision, and platted subdivisions, best I recall, it's been a long time, but it was a really old subdivision is what it amounts to. So,
And I noticed, if you haven't noticed coincidentally, that BRG calculated that center in fairly different locations than you did too. And I couldn't really understand why they did what they didn't have the south quarter corner like you did, so.
well, I found curry rebars. Is that what you're referring to, Mike? And I'm thinking that, I don't know what that was.
Yeah, you had the south quarter corner, they didn't, so I don't know how they calculated the center.
This says the center was set 45.6 feet on line from 5 to the calculated west border of the section, so they must have had some dimension to 5, which is a
Keep
height.
distance off
Yeah.
something, okay, could have been.
And I'll also offer up the ability, if you want to like kind of mull it over and then provide feedback, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I just, before I went and drew up a card and made it, because like I say, I could go either way, I really could.
I'm good.
I'm not
Yes.
sure I have a preference.
I would hope that rebar.
That's where I'm at with it, but but I didn't want to say that. I got to.
You know,
Just
just,
tell the rebar the second.
I did, but I didn't want to influence you. I was trying to bite my tongue, but I really wanted to say, well, this is a kind of a lead in and not held as a property corner like this.
And you
one
have
here. And I,
more analysis on it.
yes.
Or it was
So
more
that's
part of
where
your
I
survey,
was
yeah.
feeling stronger about that, but.
yeah,
If you could
And it's
prove,
kind of a lead in on his too.
yeah, if you could prove how intersections be shot like this, or if it wasn't just coming from one direction.
I have his old
Here, but
worksheet. He definitely took shots 2 directions, but the shots weren't right there. They were back a little way.
I mean,
So,
it's physically putting this back in. I mean, you're bringing this back in from, half mile away on an.
yes, I'm using his geometry.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
all right, well.
Yeah.
If there's,
Question 2, would you stick the rebar? Would you replace it? I came up 4/10 from a perfect split. Would you just stick it back where theirs is, put a new one in there? It's bent pretty bad. It's not in good shape.
I would definitely put something back.
In the exact spot, or would you move it to 4/10 to match your measurement? Probably. I probably wouldn't do that.
I probably would post it.
Okay.
It straightens up.
It's not gonna
If you-
straighten.
It's like,
Do can you tell where it was?
Oh, it's not moved. It's just the creek is wide. They left it
Then
up.
I would put it back in
Yeah.
the same hole if you
Yeah.
can tell where the
Yeah.
hole is.
And they may have left it, I don't know, they may have left it up because the bottom may be on bedrock. I don't know the answer to that yet. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen, like my granddad, for instance, if he found a pipe that was bent, but it going down in the ground was good.
Yeah.
I've seen him pull it out and
Sure.
take his hammer, straighten
Sure.
it back and then stick it right back down.
Sure, I've done that.
Just so that it wasn't
Sure.
Yeah.
leaning.
Oh, I've done that.
I'll pull them up and put a new rebar
Been there,
on
yeah.
just a private survey and then make a note of it.
Right.
If it's all bent and damaged, then doing anything.
Okay, so everybody kind of agrees, just go with the pin. Okay. I'm good with that.
awesome, we'll move along. Don't actually have to be anywhere, so we don't have a hard stop, but, would like to try to keep these somewhat, within a,
Restart. Are we going back to the one from last time?
yes, I had a note to bring that up. We weren't necessarily planning on it was gonna be a discussion item since, Todd wasn't here.
I just don't see it on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda because it was my mistake because, when we put a new item for discussion, it was Bean Blossom, K09, and I was thinking it was Richland C07 that we had tabled. And so I thought that was on here. And when I got to talking to Mike about everything, I figured just for time efficiency, it would maybe be too much of a discussion, but we can bring it up.
Well,
I guess,
Suggestion would be we should see if Eric was prepared to talk about it, and if.
well,
he was,
that's,
then maybe we should just stay on track and not well, it's still more fresh.
That's what I was gonna ask him. I didn't really get to talk to you prior to the meeting, so I was gonna kind of keep it offline. Tell you it was gonna show up next.
No,
Uh,
I'm totally good. I mean, I pulled a little bit of stuff on that, and if we got time slot in here on B, then we'll just stick it in that
Sure.
slot on B.
One thing we've, I guess, as far as kind of having the copy at the office, we have not recorded it because we wanted to kind of wait to see what the ultimate thoughts were on that corner. So just for you to know that we're kind of holding off on any of that
No, that's-
at our office.
That's totally good. And then that's what I would do as well until we get a resolution to it, because here's where it's at. You know, now that we've got Todd here, now we've got more of a staff and more of a view and be able to analyze it a little bit closer. But circling back to it, you know, some of the concerns was how and why did we establish what we had established? So I'm gonna set this aside, kind of bring up some surveys here, kind of throw them out there in front of everybody, and then let's brainstorm about it just a bit. So the question was, best that I recall from the last meeting is, well, what was we using?
Oh,
Like
P
what-
17, I kept
Yep.
saying P 07
Yep.
20.
So we're talking about the south border here of 19, okay? Just for Todd here. Well, a lot of this area was perpetuated initially by Ray Graham. So I've got several surveys here that Ray has used. Now, could you please zoom in on that south line, Tron, particularly at that southeast corner? There's that
Yes.
fall of 88452.
I was just gonna bring up this just in case we were.
Getting it? So if you'll just start passing these around, you know, so we're talking about this call right here, 880, it says 88452 right there, Graham above it, and then there was a pipe, and then there was another monument to the east of it. Pass
I
the
zoomed
rate-
in correct.
Yeah,
Oh, there it is. Graham.
Point it slightly to
Yep.
the right, so we can
So-
see the
So
next one.
this survey that I'm passing around right now, this has to do with one of the surveys in the section located in the southeast quarter of section. So Ray has done some stuff in that area and also south of the line here in 30, it appears. Here's another survey that Ray Graham had done. This was conducted in 94. There's 884. I had found also in the deeds in this area to call along the south line there for that 884. So there's a call in a deed, for this that would establish that south line of section 19. Here's another copy of another survey that Ray Graham has done. Once again, he's coming along that south line of the section here.
Just for my memory, E17 was the one where the stone had been replaced with the rebar directly,
Okay,
right?
um,
It says
There's a
rebar
stone
found.
and a pipe there.
yeah,
Okay,
there,
but-
it,
All right, it's the
yes.
same basic place though.
So circling back here, I got a picture of it. Let me find Jackson Rogers' text message to me from the day that he was out in the field. If.
I just wanted to know if it was the one that it wasn't just like a rebar set that had
There was
nothing to do with
rebar,
the stone.
fence post and a stump.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're both there.
Yeah. So
Oh, they're on opposite sides of the fence post? Really?
that's been the confusion, guys. The guy's got peek around the corner. So, later, we have a Bledsoe Rigger Garrett survey that also
This
recognizes
picture, John?
the rebar. I'm sorry about the reduction there.
884.
Yeah,
And they set the rebar bank, they set it.
so,
Is it a rebar or a pipe?
At
I
2010,
have in my mind it was a pipe.
BRG saying they set a rebar, right? Rebar set.
so that might have been the origin of it. So the rebar may have been the origin of the,
It says
but
that on the north side of stone, like it's at the stone.
but it's on the opposite side of the fence post.
That's very misleading.
Yeah.
Because I know I held something later, was like, oh yeah, it's at the north side. of the fence.
2010, that Well, I can easily kind of GPS. I mean, I can see where there's confusion between the field crew and the LS on that.
So what we had found during the course of our survey that matched pretty close to what Ray had done was these three marks that I've got in orange right here. And this, the significance of this survey, he's calling this out the section line coming across, even though that he's math over here on this side of it. I'll pass this. Here's a copy of it, Mike. He's calling it out the section line right there. And what I highlighted was the area in the call that he says along the section line. And he said if you read that description, he calls out two pipes and some of them were, pipes found. Now, did he set these pipes initially, then come back and find them later on and call them out in his description? I don't know. But nonetheless, I believe that in my opinion, when we was going through the analysis part of this, he was creating the south line of that section through that segment. So I had the pipe to the calculated position over here on the township line. And I held a straight line going from pipe over here to the township line. And I calculated the following along the township line. And that's why it's a straight line there. Now, of course, everybody here, well, I think everybody knows that, one more. If I hadn't passed this one around, this was another Bledsoe survey here that was holding that 884 distance along the section line. So then the question, but this is the big one, Mike, fence line versus, survey line here. Was the fence line established at the time of the survey? These aren't the original landowners at the time. I can tell you, by at least having Travis Norman survey here. Now, this is a little.
Come through.
So this is that 884 right here, Todd. But then you can see him picking up this fence over here, which is a little better representation than what I showed because he's kind of now getting zoomed in onto a parcel. And he's kind of showing that fence kind of making a bit of a rainbow going through there. So here he's only 4 feet. We was, what was we at the time? 15? Does that sound about right?
I think it was 16 now.
Oh, down here at this corner right here. And over here, he's showing, what he's showing. Looks like it might be 9 going. You'd have to go back to the corner tie sheet where I would have shown some things in that area. So I guess the questions on the table is who built the fence? Did they know where the line was at? Did they build the fence based on a survey?
The question to me, and I'm probably going to get totally disagreed with. We had an original survey that was a straight line between monuments, the original.
Okay.
And now we have somebody came in and put a break in it. That's my biggest problem with it right there in a nutshell.
You do have a precedent before it's in a straight line.
Sure, you get the government survey.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with you, Mike. I mean, that's your opinion, but, and I totally honor that and I can get behind that in a lot of cases. It's just that I've got another case that I'm working on that I'm hearing a total flip-flop version of that. And I'd be glad to explain that to you at another time. Love to sit down.
To me,
I'd love to sit down with you.
To me, if
on this other one that
this one was a legal survey, to me, if Graham had done if this was in the legal survey book, then I'd totally argue for that break, but that he just, we don't know what he did.
Well, okay, I'm going to give you an example of one here right now. This one here, Ray Graham is calling out a section line. He's calling out monuments. I've got a survey that he did not call out monuments. He did not say that he set monuments, and it's kind of getting used against me, right? So I'm sitting here like, but I'd like to, I can't talk too much about it, but anyways, that's.
So we had this kind of long discussion, I guess. Todd kind of hasn't weighed in. I'm not sure if other thoughts have kind of came. from my, and I need to kind of just be completely straightforward. From my observation of what the discussion is, you're holding what you called out on their survey. So let's go ahead and separate the two of these. One's the section corner process and one's the survey that you did. And you know, with the ability of having that quasi-judicial decision, you know, from our standpoint of moving forward with just the survey, not the monument record, you're wanting there's no alterations that you're looking at, so we can proceed with recording it.
I don't see a problem with what I have.
Right.
And I just want to kind of throw one more thing out here. Tom.
Okay.
I mean, so basically what you're looking at, I mean, pardon me with the scribbles. I just printed this out real quick. So this is the deep plot of the area. The corner that we're talking about is this intersection right here. Okay. So what we have is Norman had found pipes at both of these corners, which would be. I don't have to.
So this is what we talked about like 3 months ago, too,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
So as you can see, Graham has established all of this in this area. And Norman has found in his surveys these. We have found these that are highlighted in orange. I'm wanting to stay in harmony with the deeds in the area, is what I'm thinking. Because if we put a straight line in it, now we're not in harmony with it, with the deeds.
Yeah. I will have to pull us away from this discussion here shortly, so we actually kind of can get to the certifications. Here's the survey. Rich will go ahead. Also, I will say that I think I'll kind of,
But don't you want to
but
certify?
we don't have to answer anything quite yet, and then kind of lay out what the goal is unless Eric feels otherwise definitive about how.
No,
But go ahead, Rachel, sorry.
It just seems important to me to get it finished.
well,
while it's
okay.
fresh instead of coming back to it another time.
Well, I want to make sure we give appropriate consideration and time. And so I guess let me go ahead and kind of lay out what I think the approach would be is if, so we have two things here. We have the survey. And as you all know, that there could be information provided here where it could alter kind of some of your determination of what positions to hold. And so we wanted to pause on the filing and recording of that survey until we had this other discussion. So that's kind of one question there. We don't want to proceed. That's going to be when Eric kind of definitively says, you know, this is how we are, or I'm good, and then we'll go ahead and file that and finish our kind of due diligence. Then there is a question of tabling the monument, which tabling means we will bring it back. And there's a difference of opinion with our PS in house. So there, I'm thinking that maybe we'll look at that and then come back to the discussion of the corner and really see where we're at there. And there possibly go out there, and if there's another set of findings, present both of those findings. And
If there's another set, it's just a matter of opinion. And ultimately, whatever we put in the books, each individual surveyor has his own right to accept or reject it.
but ultimately, I guess my one, and this is something I talked with Mike just briefly about, and I really love the way I said it, so I hope I say it. Well, I don't want this office to kind of be in a position where we're not completing some of the perpetuation work. And so like to have a corner to go indefinitely tabled is not anything we're going to pursue. So to continue this discussion, finally come to some understanding that we will hold a position in the county that other surveyors are not going to agree with. And that's why I want to make sure that we separate these two conversations, because one's what you're going to put on your survey and one's what's potentially going to go in the county surveyor's office as a official monument record. And so I'm not sure if you had another question outside of, yeah, so we could go back to that, but the goal would be is to bring it back here to give everyone time, consideration. And if that corner gets approved, doesn't get approved, it's tabled again because maybe you want our office to look into it and maybe prepare an alternate time, tie sheet, all of those.
The board, whether.
All of those are
they make a
going to be-
decision on that here.
Yeah.
I mean,
Agree.
I think if you run it around these guys, they might have an answer for you right now, Tron.
Right, well, it's not on for certification, so we're not looking at certifying it.
Oh, I didn't say.
Yeah, this is only meant for purposes because I don't want to push anything through either, so, so there. I
Great. I thought we were bringing it back for certification.
That's what my understanding last month.
And then it was just accidentally left off the agenda.
We could-
We were adding
we
it.
could amend it and add that to that. That could be fine. That wasn't the intent. The intent was to loop Todd in here for his,
Eric, a quick question before, sorry, I'm just,
I know what you're queuing in on. I'm just about bet right
How
now.
far South of
where's,
Great Lines.
where is this?
So
What is this?
It's about 12 feet.
that is the corner in question right
So
here.
Norman said it too, or
Norman, that's weird that he does say that he said it, but
did he end up holding yours?
he had to have held mine.
So there,
Right.
that's what I was getting confused about.
But
is it was-
I think he held
That,
down, didn't he,
This
if I
is
remember
what
right?
I was looking at. If you was to measure these stones here and you go and you do the math here, we're really close to what Graham had said the corner was to be. However, if you do the math individually to the section line, it's not matching the grain right there. Follow me? Graham would put it even further south of the fence than where we have it at now. I'm wanting to kind of stick in harmony and hold our section and make it a straight line from where he's calling out a section line to here, because it's not going to affect any deed in this area because they own on both sides right here.
because
But yet
So
honor
it-
him this way too.
if you were to go a straight line, like you talked about liking pushing better because it puts the break at the quarter, but that
Mhm.
gets us way off the fence.
And it gets closer to the fence at the actual corner, yeah. But I hadn't, I saw what you said about the fence.
I thought it would get us,
They'll move
it looks like it would move it south if we pushed it. When-
Yeah,
so-
I actually ran the math on it. No, it would move it 12 feet north, I believe, which would put us within 4 feet of the fence.
Not if you go by the Graham survey. If you go by the Graham survey and you look up Dewey's math on those individuals on both sides of the section, it pushes you further south.
I was just basing on yours,
Based
right?
on a projection of those two, you're correct.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that if you go by Graham's math here on that split and he has these individual calls to the section line, his puts us further south of the fence.
But bottom line is Graham didn't know what the section line was. That's the bottom line. He didn't know. We know he didn't know.
What do you say? What do you say? I mean, we play the hand we're dealt.
Right.
well, the goal wasn't necessarily to certify this. This was to loop Todd in more or
Yeah.
less. And then also kind of figure out the best approach because at the end of the day, I guess my opinion on here and being willing to kind of bring this for certification, when there's two different opinions, I just draw a pause for a minute. So I'm not in a hurry. I know the information's fresh, but ultimately, I would want to kind of talk maybe about kind of how we're going to proceed because it's a fun job you guys have, and let's just say there's going to be situations where everyone might have a different opinion, but how do we actually get this done, and how do we get this done in consideration of everyone's opinion, and that if we have a opinion internal that disagrees with the board, if we have a board, obviously the board is the body that approves them, but I also have the ability not to bring it to the board for certification. And that's why I didn't want to put it on there today, because our internal PS, it has a different opinion. This will not be a stopping block. We can bring it back up. We tabled it, and then we can have a larger discussion, but I guess.
Tron, I guess I was just under the, my bad. Like I said, my understanding was that I was to bring some more evidence to the board today, was my understanding.
Right, no, and you did. And I think now kind of give some time to kind of digest that information. And then,
So if the board doesn't, if this never comes back,
it just sits there and that's not comfortable with me.
there's tabled forever.
Yeah, and I'm not comfortable with
Build
that.
office goes out and does set another monument, do a new tie and bring that to the board.
Or bring this one back, but yeah,
That's the only scenario, right? Like. So it. Which is fine. I mean, I think you were asking what we think needs to happen here, and it seems like if you don't want to bring it to the board, you don't bring it to the board, and then it just, this survey's out there, the pin's there, it's been held by Norman. Maybe multiple, we have them happen sometimes where they come to the board and it gets tabled, and then 10 years later it comes back and it's like, well, now 6 people have held this monument. And then the board holds it because it's been held a bunch of times.
that is true.
That could happen, or the next 6 people could say, actually, we don't like this.
Right.
You could put a note on there, on the tabled corner that says why it was tabled, so that when people ask for, well, why is there a pending corner on the GIS? Can I have a copy of the pending tie sheet? And then they know a little bit of the history and can look at it with that Mike's eyes and the board and Eric's eyes and make their own decision. And then it comes back in 10 years. And because I don't really see the county coming and doing their own perpetuation here just to,
Well, and also,
with this one corner.
No, you're
Like,
correct.
you're on track
Yeah.
to,
Correct.
you're doing your own area.
Right.
So.
well, and we don't want to take a position where it looks like we're like checking the work necessarily. There's 2 different kind of methods of how to establish this. And that's actually a discussion we've had internally is, this gets us to a better point, and then maybe the next generation of surveyors can come through and kind of try to hash out this one particular corner. To your point, and I don't know, maybe
Well, ultimately,
in 10 years, it'll still be you guys, but
ultimately, if they all decide to.
See, before it gets to the.
exactly. But so that's another big part of what we're doing here is we're really kind of bringing in a more dialogue, more conversation around some of these tricky monuments where, another surveyor will come around and kind of use all of what we've been kind of discussing as a way to determine their position. So, I feel comfortable with,
You too, think.
well, 2 things. One, Eric, with his survey, we're good with recording that and finishing our end of that agreement. Okay. And then to Rachel's point, does this really need to be brought back for certification, or should we give it some time until maybe that area is more developed and then it is being utilized, and then we have more surveyors that have rendered their opinion? I don't think it's gonna, well, I can't speculate, but
Add to that, actually.
you know,
This has been, well, looks like surveyed, I mean, the Abrams and Garrison and all those surveys surround this corner over here. This survey is now splitting it out over here. So we've got do we not have all the ground surrounding this? This pin is in agreement with all of the surveys that surround this. So I do know that I can see myself looking at this and being like, well, it matches all the deeds, matches all the surveys surrounding it. I would probably be holding it because of that, just because of that, if I was looking at it later,
right.
rather than, and I'd be like, well, their surveys recorded and.
Right, whether you guys certify it or not, it's still gonna be like more, so, yeah, don't let me hold you up. If you guys all agree to it, then.
If I went out and did a survey out there, I would hold it, but if we sat here and break it down, do I think it's in the right spot? I probably do not.
All right, well, let's,
I would probably agree with that in.
And I don't know if I would break it down and think it's in the wrong spot or not without having broken it down.
Honestly,
But I do kind of know that I would probably hold it. Because of the deeds and the surveys.
so I think let's go ahead and move to this survey of corners.
So we're with you, Tom.
And, this gives a lot of thought, just with the one that Mike was talking about with the 7 foot of uncertainty, it just brings a pause whenever I see that. So, as soon as maybe we hash out a good strategy, we'll bring it to the board for your feedback. We're all working, in tandem of trying to get this work done because, and obviously we'll see if something similar like this again, maybe even within this survey that we're.
Yeah, there's gonna be some controversial ones on this one.
Oh.
Hard to do a whole section and not have.
So with that, Mike, I'll let you take over. I'll just kind of give a quick update. So we just had discussion of Richland C17, which was tabled at our previous meeting. And we are now moving back to our normal agenda, certification of corners. This is a county survey perpetuation effort. And this is section 8, Township 10 North, Range 2 West, Bean Blossom. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, let's just kind of start off, kind of go clockwise. Let's start with I-08, which is on the east line of the southeast quarter, the midpoint, so to speak. Not a whole lot to say there. We found the legal survey book had a stone, or I don't remember if it said a stone, but had something. We found a nice stone. It's about a foot west of a railroad tie post where the fence started, so clearly the landowners also knew of its existence. It's dandy. It's, sitting vertical in the ground, cut limestone. Not much doubt in my mind that's the monument the legal survey books referred to. Couldn't verify reference trees, tried, but couldn't, but nonetheless.
Page 2. I need to get page 2. I got 2 pages.
Oh, no. Oh, there you go. You got 2 pages.
So 4, yeah. Our first member of the public.
You might pull up a picture of it. I don't know. There's about that stone. It's a beauty.
Here's that.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, we cut a cross on it. The cross wasn't already there, but
So you went ahead and witnessed it on I-08
yeah,
because it's a nice stone.
it's a nice stone. There's just no doubt in my mind that that's the 1800 stone that was set there in the original subdivision section.
Are you referencing all the 16s you find or only if they're, those are legal survey? Just playing it by
Let's
ear.
skip to that. There's one on here that's not in illegal books. Typically, I'm not hunting or going after them if they're not in the legal survey books. And if they're not going to help me on anything outside, I'm probably not. So, yeah, I guess there's no one answer for every time.
It was really hard for me to resist looking for the ones like they didn't need on the survey.
Yeah,
I wanted to go look for them because I thought they were probably there.
100%. Yeah.
I could see choosing to just go ahead and look for them. It is a survey of the section. So.
Yeah, and there was a lot of questions on that east line as we'll get to as we circle all the way around. And that stone was kind of pertinent for me to look at some different things. You guys want to talk any on that or you want me to move on?
Did you want to talk about, I guess, how they meshed up with the calculated calls?
No.
I heard your report just now on I-08. I'm good.
Okay. So we'll drop down to I-09, which is just a big old wood post. Everybody who's been out there has held it. It's kind of got, some occupation. There was no stone record, so to speak. So that location's been preserved for some reason. I have to assume there's no more reliable evidence of that section corner than that wood post. Got a piece of tin packed on top of it.
I have 2 too, sorry.
Oh, I see. So you need one of my 3.
I just took one.
Okay. You need.
What happens when Jason's not present?
I do always like. So.
Yep.
Jason's definitely our organizer.
I don't know. Good.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much a no-brainer. It's also the one that was used in the cave, whatever I brought up earlier today. Then we'll go to Geo9, also pretty much a no-brainer. It's a nice stone. Multiple surveyors have used it, matches occupation.
This office had, it approved in 2021.
Has it already been through the board, actually?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
but just through the board, this was during the time when there wasn't a PS, so.
Right.
I don't think I have Geo9 in.
I don't have the
It's on
go.
page 3.
Don't think so.
The report, maybe we may not have the tie card file. And I did the report a little different this time. Last time we recorded every tie card. We recorded a 39-page survey with all those pictures, and we decided this time, you know what, let's just record that, the report, and then under each one say, for more information on a tie card, you can visit us in person or online. Is the tie card not in your packet, Rachel?
No,
It may not be.
I quit looking once. but-
Yeah, I know, they're out of there.
So I'm okay with Geo9. I haven't looked at a card yet, but as far as what you're saying that you're finding there, I'm good.
I do have the tie card on the screen if
Oh,
that's
there you
of help. There's the stone and a bent rebar right next to it.
Yep, we actually held some of your old ties and then we put a couple rebar lights just for some survey grade monuments, survey grade references.
I still just don't have the best memory of being out there.
Yep, we saw your picture. You were dressed up in a ski mask like you were freezing to death.
Sounds about right.
EO9, I didn't do, I located it just for my survey. I didn't do a new card, just Gwen had already done a card that I felt was thoroughly sufficient.
EO9.
Mine was back fast.
So, yeah. Let's kind of skip back to the northwest. It's one that I'm not sure Todd was on, but the others of us were, so it's already been approved in whatever section we did to the west. 7, 6, oh, I think it was approved when we did 6 up here. Now let's drop down to EO6. That's an interesting one. Rachel kind of stumped me on a question because it is not in the legal survey books. It is,
Got drawn as far as a pick.
oh, it's a cool pic too.
Yeah.
Ooh, look at those letters.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Wow.
Now that stone was used here on a Gerates survey, so it's called for in relatively modern deeds here. It's called for in an old deed to the west also, which actually says that it is a stone marked JB plus. Pretty cool. And that deed specifically says that it's the 16th corner and on, it even says on the section line. So even though it's not in the legal survey books,
It's called in the deeds.
called in the deeds, pretty close to the fence.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any previous owners with those initials?
I don't know. I wondered that too. I tried to kind of find, I wondered who JB or JBX. I don't know if
Busker.
plus is just
What I thought,
That-
James
well,
Buck.
maybe.
Huh,
Why did you do that on all of them?
I don't know. Questions over there, aren't there?
I like that.
I was
I like that
brainstorming,
idea.
I say.
Let's go to the center. Center is a really fun one. with the advent of our pins, there's now 4 pins there.
Oh, wait, sorry, are we not gonna do EO5 because we did it last time? EO6 was just an addition.
Correct. Yeah, EO5's already, we've already discussed. It's already been
It's
said.
good, it's good. So
Yeah.
The GO7,
Yeah, GO7, the center of section, that was one I spent a ton of time on.
which one?
GO7, the center of section.
What was your concerns with it, Mike?
Well, for one thing, there's 3 pins already there. And I really wanted to find a stone. I really felt there was gonna be a stone. We ended up digging a pretty good hole. We never found it. But had 1915, I'm going by memory, records of the northwest corner of a house foundation, which is kind of weird because the northwest corner is way up here. The southwest corner is the closest corner. And I also had references to a mulberry tree. I thought, I wonder, I knew, pretty close to where it should be, and the southwest corner matched pretty good. So I thought, I think they just wrote that down. I think they wrote northwest corner foundation down. I think they should have wrote southwest. From there, I laid out this reference tree, 1915 mulberry tree. I thought, fat chance. No, there is a stump there. I did some I did some research on mulberry, and it is known, it's even cited in the Bible. I even quoted a Bible verse there. It is known as wood that does not rot. It's known to use for fence posts and caskets. So I really think, and that stump is on the photos, if you want to see.
Yeah.
I really think that's the original stump, and I really think that's the original foundation corner, and we put it in based on that. And not only that, but that's about where you would have put it even if you didn't have those. I mean, it just fit.
So when you're saying it fit, what did you see physically out there, man? I mean, so you've got the stump, you got what you think is a mistaken description of a tie.
Right.
You've done distance.
Well, we've got 2 stones here, and it's within a couple of tenths of being on a straight line between them. For one.
Okay.
We also had an old property corner up here, and this may not be addressed, but it matches some fencing to the north. We had a stone here that is referenced. That fits with it. Yeah, I think my biggest thing was the fact that, this should have been a straight line, and it basically is within a couple tenths or maybe hundreds even. It was amazing.
On which 2 stones was it? Sorry.
GO9 and GO8, we haven't talked about GO8 yet, but if you extend those on a straight line, you can see the bearing shift is extremely minimal.
I don't have the try for GO9. I have the theory, but can you bring that on the screen? I was just curious if the 3 other monuments you said were there, are those as ties on here?
On what I'm confused.
I thought on the center, you said there were already 3 monuments there.
Yeah, there are.
So are they all 3 shown on the
Yeah,
ties?
yeah, they are. Yeah.
and then also there was a one.
There's a,
Can you bring those up to where we can see how they relate to the new pen?
yeah, David Meyer has a relatively new survey. He was closest. He was pretty close, really. Then there's an old spike, and then there's an old rebar. I have no idea what those were thinking. I think I do.
And the bolt was,
It was prior reference through this office.
Yeah, Kevin and I tied that off in
But if you go down there,
2005, and the review board certified it in 2005. That's also,
but if you look at old fencing north and south of it, it's sparse, but you can clearly see it's way out of line.
that would be this one, right?
Yep.
19 feet off.
when you get done showing us if you can bring up just that one bigger.
Yeah.
I have the old pie here. Getting all this off the screen.
You can bring it up, but can't really
I
bring
think
up.
just that bottom box is what she's wanting to see, that shows where the relation of those other pins are to it.
$509 foot high.
I just found it.
Okay.
I found it.
Have it.
Yeah, that was a pin I located. That was a pin I located of Myers before I was sure what I was gonna do. I went up there and I also was kind of wanting to look at occupation to the north.
Oh. Some text overriding going on right there.
Well, there sure is. I don't think that shows up on our card that way, though.
No, I think, that's just the printer.
Yeah. Pretty sure it's not on the card.
I think something got stuck and it just started.
Overriding?
Yeah, it just started printing. As you can see, the tie right up there, that's the one that will be kind of put online and then printed off once if it gets approved and then in the book, so.
I think, can you show us the next page? That left one?
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
Yep, there it is. That's what I'm talking about.
okay.
Oh. Oh. Interesting.
Can you still discern what it says?
That was the survey that has the house corner and the
Yeah.
mulberry on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is actually the corner itself.
Was there any possession going north of this?
Yeah, there starts, 263 feet is where the possession starts. And I had originally located a fence corner and I was like, oh, well, I'm missing that fence corner by about 14 feet. I went back and taped over 14 feet and realized there's actually a second older fence that agrees with that.
So I'm noticing that some of these points that you had found were to the west of here.
Yeah, there's two other pins.
What's this by chance, a 2640 type thing going on, or if you?
You know what I think? The next fence line going north would almost fit with those pins, but that fence line is clearly off because we found the stone at the other end of it and it goes, eh. I think somebody, this is just a theory. I think somebody set those based off that fence extension.
Rick Johnson always told me that 13 feet was a number that farmers used when they had cattle and pigs to split it to use as a travel way. I don't know if it's true or not, but what we said that.
Interesting.
13.
I don't know where I trust the word for it was a good surveyor, but
Yeah.
I remember he told me.
But you can also, there is some very sparse fence remnants to the south in trees, and I went down, flagged them and lined up. And they definitely don't line up with those other two pins. They definitely line up with ours.
And it's conceivable that somewhere along the line that the south half could have been surveyed and the north half later.
Possibility. There's another conceivable, if you really want to. There was two legal surveys done. The first guy to set the stone maybe didn't set it where the second guy did. I don't know. But definitely this 1915 corner is what's been occupied, other than the next fence to the west. For some reason, it's shifted a bit where it starts, but now where it ends at the other end, it's not. There's a stone there that we located, and it would also agree with our point.
Apologize if I do have to get my son. So I do have to leave.
Real quick, Nico, I'm gonna be calling about that. This is out there, you Bill area, section 9.
He sent me an email about 10 days ago.
Okay.
Yep.
Just it's a,
Okay.
did you do a survey?
Yeah, thank
I
you.
don't know if we talked about it, yeah, but it was a performer that I had.
Yes.
It looked.
See everyone.
See you, Todd.
That's tough. Yes, I mean, so.
Yeah,
So it's
really
an
wish.
old- Well, it's an old foundation.
Yes. You might bring up that picture. That's Stump, can you do that?
I was looking
References.
for it, but for some reason,
It would be in his, well, I don't know how you do this computer. It would be in his references. I remember looking at it.
I mean, I believe it about the stuff because I've found witness trees from 1915 era a lot more than, yeah, a lot more than the 1800 or mid 1800s ones.
Mhm.
And if I'm sure a mulberry has a slow growth rate. It's not on my growth rate chart. But, you know, I think
Mhm.
we're used to seeing Asian mulberries now around Bloomington, but the native mulberry, if it's gonna get that big, it's gonna be old.
is that that's the stuff?
Yes. There's actually,
The
That's a
red,
pretty big stump
red
too,
mulberry.
yeah,
for
Yeah.
mulberry.
yeah, and we could always do a core sample. This, to me, it kind of looks mulberry-ish, but
Well, you had sent that.
I'd sent that to
I
you,
looked in
yeah.
all my tree books and looked up about mulberries and believed that it could be a mulberry.
yeah.
I read Deem's trees, like what he said about mulberries, and they can grow big. They're in the open.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's definitely possible for the native red mulberry to be that big. That one thing, talking about not having to do core samples, but just like actually being able to just look with a regular microscope and see the cell structure and determine
Oh, really?
tree species, but I don't, where's your comparison? Like, you need some sort of manual that's like,
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that, but anyways, I do think that's believable, and I also think that the business of the house foundation being.
Yeah, why would we have referenced the northwest corner when any way you cut it would have been the farther corner from the southwest would have been your
What
closest.
structure was this, Mike? I mean,
1915 is when it was, Jason looked that up and the house was built.
no. Lengthwise, you know what, I'm saying that, okay, so you did hold the northwest versus the southwest.
He has them both. on
Yeah, I
the
do
right
have them
here.
both on. I didn't do the math to see how long the house was, but it's probably, oh gosh, probably 30 feet long, I'd say. Yeah, it definitely wouldn't fit to the northwest corner. For sure.
27 feet, 30 feet.
Yeah, yeah.
Approximately. That's the house.
That is the house, yeah, you can see I can't say that's the house that was there in 1950, probably is.
It looks like it could be.
Definitely on the foundation.
Yeah. I hate it that there's already 3 corners there.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah. I really wanted to find that stone.
So
And
where's, is that only one deep to put the others?
No.
Not called for, nobody's called for it.
Not that I found.
Now, when you come from the house foundation, that information came from what, again, Mike?
A 1915 legal survey.
That's right here. So your theory does your theory talk about the other 3 pins? Really?
Probably, I don't know. I don't remember if I know I did a heck of a write-up on this one. There's a lot of reading there if you want to read it.
I know I read it. That's what you said.
Yeah, I did.
Theory, and I didn't remember
Um,
reading about all the.
I may not have. There's, like I say, 2 are just pins. We have no idea who or why Myers. I know why Myers said his where he did. And he got pretty darn close.
We had one where we brought in the Lawrence County Surveyor because I had found a stone that was there was a monument center line of the road and stones outside of the road. And everybody was using the center line.
Yeah,
And I was like, I have to pull this down.
yeah.
And I've talked to him and he ended up agreeing, but then later we've talked about it and he's like, I still hate that one. I think it's in the road, not the stone, because
So
That's a good example.
local deeds in the area, Mike, what Did you look and examine any of those?
I did, looked at all of them. They call just what the old 19, wish I could pull up that 19 survey legal survey book record. It actually showed the outline of a track. And the current deed is still the dimensions of the 1915 legal survey record book.
Are you talking about survey book 3, page 52?
Yeah. I don't know if you can pull it up or not, but yeah, there's something there that'll totally answer your question.
Did you talk to David about the?
No, I didn't. I mean, I totally saw what he did, but he didn't find it. I don't know if he looked for the references or.
Was his pin like a,
Second, I'll see if I find it.
was he surveying right there? Like, was it a property corner for, or was he
Give
on?
me a minute, I can. Probably not the best copy. I probably have a better copy in there, but if you squint. He was
So
surveying to the
wasn't
north.
surveying, right.
No,
Did he talk about the other two pins?
I
And
don't
not-
believe
not
he
holding it?
did. I don't believe he did,
Interesting. But,
but I see how he did it. You know, he went stone, stone, stone. And then he based his north quarter corner on ASA survey that I finally got a hold of. And they had based it on 2640 from a post. So I was like, well, I'm not put much weight in that.
you're pretty close to 2640 though.
I actually am.
Split,
I
yeah.
actually am. Yeah.
I thought they were filed here, but I'm only having one, sir.
If you go to N, go down to 10-2 West. Oh, no, we're in, darn, how do we do it? Well, shoot, I can do it in a heartbeat looking at the computer.
What book page was?
They should be in that folder, Tom.
Yeah. And legal surveys, right?
What else? What other
Um,
choices do you have there?
I typed in legal and nothing else popped up.
I'm just trying to.
Going down to the bottom. There's something. There you go, legal, so MSO LSP index, one down. One down there.
Yeah,
There you
but-
go. It'll come up now.
I mean, I put this thing together back in the day.
Yeah,
And
those
now-
links shouldn't even all be good anymore. They weren't even all.
I wouldn't think they.
When I was-
That's where I always go to. Now go to section 8 and is it 399? Oh, wasn't
It was not.
it?
I tried to get to work today, but I had to go, I actually had to go open up the file, PDF file of everything.
99, Rachel, was that the book 2, 399 in the report?
Book 3, page 52.
Oh, book 3,
Um,
page 52, okay.
Yeah, those links, like, we renamed all the files and the links weren't necessarily good anymore. So that's really weird that folder is empty, Tron.
Yeah,
I'm worried about that for you.
well,
It probably just got drugged somewhere else.
There's your 52 was,
this it.
yeah, there's your little, there's
Has
the
the
deed.
pathway on
The
there.
deed still reads exactly what that little.
It's just another place that they're housed.
Yeah.
And then that legal survey, they're just
It's like a remnant or something.
Has one survey that's modern, which.
And Eric, not only does the deed still read what you see there, that northwest corner of that little thing, we found that stone.
you like me to zoom in on
Yeah.
Yeah.
this area.
Yeah, that number 4, we found that stone. It's actually tied. It's
Oh.
tied on there.
Okay, so that's 4 sections we're seeing. So number 1 is the center.
Yeah, that is correct. Correct.
And is that number 5? That's just to the west of it. We didn't find
I
anything.
think that's number 3. No, I could not find that. It actually falls, they put that road in and somebody put a concrete, like dumped some extra concrete and that's where it fell.
But then you did find 5. Is that what the other one?
Um,
Or
is about midway down.
Too, sorry.
Or wait, no, that's in the next, no, oh yeah,
Two.
Yeah, we did find two. Yeah, we got two. Yeah, we've got it.
and that one matched up.
Oh, yeah, it's
That's
almost-
807.
And so what was it, what was his record call? From 7 to 1? Does he? have
Oh, there's no
that?
distances,
There's
are
no
there?
distance.
No,
But then in the deeds, you have the distances
yeah,
based on this legal survey.
correct, yeah. Yeah, if you zoom really in tight, you can see some distances in that little square there. They're in there. Yeah, they're in there.
140.
Yeah, in rods. And that stone number 4 fits together with this real well too.
You have 2, 5, and 4. And
Yeah,
then 1, you have the
correct,
northwest
correct.
corner, whatever that says. Foundation stone.
Yes. Yeah.
And this isn't the tricky one. So,
No.
Well, this, I mean,
it is. No, there's a number of different corners. This one, again, my biggest thing was that it was previously tied off. It's not the first time we've seen monument records tied off where the section corner just really was lacking with a lot of good information.
I might add one more thing to this is that it hit pretty much the center of that road. And one of these deeds over here talks about beginning at the center of the section, quote, in the center of the road.
okay, so this is what rattles around in my head. We've got 3 monuments there. One of them, we know the origin of it. They come from Dave Myers.
Yeah.
So the other 2 we can toss out. Now, that leaves us with, okay, who was the original surveyor? So that's this one here. You're being the retracing surveyor. Nobody's owned on either side of this, so there could be a different location. How does that affect Dave Myers' survey that established this corner? Or let me rephrase that. Retrace this corner in at a different location. Now, which one of these is the Myers here?
The closest one,
The closest one to you?
yes.
Here's Meyer survey. So he doesn't talk about the legal survey at all, yet he still managed to find stone at the 16th corners, 3 directions.
Yeah, clearly he knew about them.
So his survey is further north.
What he was really staking is further north, yeah. There we go.
I mean,
There's a better one, bigger one.
And that 4.82 feet, a lot of it is north-south.
Primarily north-south. Yeah, he was almost on the same line as me.
So it's
but
not gonna have a ton of effect on his line by the time
It's
you get
not,
up
no.
to it.
It's not gonna have a lot of effect on his line at all.
I mean, the things that I know that sometimes we gotta go and do things a little bit unorthodox. And this one here, okay, so it's the top.
Yeah, I feel confident
Of the building, that's what I hold the strongest reservations about.
Yeah.
If I was to come out here and I was not to find anything, what am I gonna hold? We know that if you find the 2 pins out there, now you've got to dig deeper like what you did. Probably as good as anything. I mean, I'm not gonna say that it's 100%.
I feel really solid on this one myself.
It doesn't leave me warm and fuzzy for sure.
Yeah, but if you go north and go west of that stone number 4 and it hits, now you're.
Yeah, now there you go. Now, what makes me feel a little better at ease is this alignment going north that you was talking about.
Mhm.
Now, are you saying that you projected that way and did a measurement over to that stone and it's fitting fairly close?
Really well, really.
That makes me feel better.
I mean, I think the great big difference between the 30 feet between the actual northwest corner of the whole foundation,
Yeah,
southwest corner, and he has all these other stones, so we know it's not 30 feet. That's it.
Yep.
And that makes the like the Scrivener's error to me feel like that's just the Scrivener's error.
Yeah.
Because 30 feet's big enough. So I felt, when you sent me that sent to the report, Mike sent it just because we were talking about all the 16th and stuff but it wasn't really, it didn't have all the other stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, heck yeah, looks great. But I didn't know about the other 3 monuments. And so
Yeah,
now
yeah.
I'm like, oh God, 3 more monuments.
yeah, yeah,
I feel a lot less happy about this, but,
yeah.
I just think if it weren't for the 3 monuments, I would be 100% on board with the,
Okay.
with the whole grade and the Scrivener's error on the foundation.
I can get behind that thought there too. You know, I mean, the only one that gives me any reservations about the monuments is the Dave Myers. The other two's not called for any deeds. We don't know the origin of them, so it doesn't bother me that much.
And we had David come in and say, I'm not holding these 2. One of them's even a record of the county. And he went so far as to find all these 16ths and not hold that.
Mhm.
That's how off it seemed.
Mhm.
So that's another good reason to just toss the one that's of record now. I'm not worried about throwing that out when you have David come and say the same thing.
Right.
And so to me, it's just a matter of
And
adding another monument when we have David's within 5 feet. But that's why I was bringing up that other stone, because it's like when you feel like you really have it, retraced it to the spot,
Mhm. That's why we dug.
you want to put it back where you figured out that, because now you've got to the point where you're
I
with.
thought we were gonna find it.
That's where I was.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna find it, but we didn't.
feel bad about it.
I was.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
I mean, I feel,
I mean,
and it doesn't really have that big of an effect on David's survey, it seems like. That makes me feel better.
I'm good with Geo7. I think we've talked this one out. The only thing that I see is tie, fix the typo on the tie.
Yeah.
I saved that, I'll be sure to try to bring up all my comments at the end.
How do you think about that one, Rachel?
Geo7,
Geo7?
that's how I feel too. I'm glad that we got to see Dave's survey and see that it's not,
Yeah.
it's pretty immaterial
different.
by the time you
Yeah.
get up, and by the time you get up to where he was establishing that line.
Yeah, it's not gonna affect
Because
me
I
much
think
at all.
he really did a good faith
Mhm.
establishment of that center.
Yeah, I agree.
And you took it one step further, but
Yeah.
he took it pretty far.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
Well,
So if you hadn't had
try to keep it swift.
conclusive evidence, I'd be like, just hold his pen.
I would have probably 2. Yeah, it was my next best option for sure. When I shot that foundation, then I laid out that reference tree. And Ethan was over. I said, "Have you seen anything at all?" And he goes, "Yeah, there's a stump right here." And I was like, "Oh, no way." Then I was like, "Okay, I got this."
Yep.
You want to move us to the next corner?
Yeah, we'll just drop down to Geo8. Not much say, nice cut engraved stone in the legal survey books. Add a fence corner.
What was that one?
The neighbor knew about it. The neighbors all knew about it. It's in at Geo8. It's in a mess of mangled trees. Tornado went through there. Lady walked us out. She goes, "It's right in there, but I'm not going in there with you."
Oh, that is a pretty stone.
Yeah, yeah. And we didn't even cut the X on. The X was already on.
Nice.
And it's almost in perfect line. That's fine.
I'm just chomping at the bit to hear about HO7 1 and 2.
Yeah, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Two more before it.
So this one's not to be voted on. This one here, we're just using as reference.
Oh, it has a type
It does have a.
Oh, yeah.
But So are we voting on the 16th corners nowadays? Yay? Hey, I didn't know.
These, yes.
Okay.
I guess the typical thing is if they're referenced, as a stone being set, we'll bring a monument record. There was the one that, Mike brought up that wasn't necessarily referenced in the legal survey books, but they were referenced in the deed. So that was kind of one he wanted a little feedback, and I guess from my understanding, from the discussion that was seemed like a fine idea to bring to the board to establish, potentially on our official record.
And EO7 was not when we were actually trying to certify, because we did it last time.
The
No, we're getting to EO7.
Yeah.
We're getting to-
Oh,
EO5,
I have a,
there was another one.
yeah, okay, I just thought since we did EO5 and EO9.
yeah, I'm
That we
getting,
would have done
I'm
EO7.
getting to it because of the way I established it.
I'm good with the GO8. I mean, it's referenced in a legal survey book. So,
FO7, I'll take you to next. It's pretty much the same situation. Stone's in a legal survey book. It's at a fence corner. Other survey, well, it's in Meyer's survey, as was GO8, I might point out. It's also in a Garrett's survey.
Garrett Todd.
Garrett's.
That it here.
I just call him BG.
Okay,
Yeah, and Garrett Todd.
see,
Looks like we lost Donna. She said she had another meeting, so.
so that's had a fence post here. On the Rachel? I don't.
I'm assuming
Gonna
that
talk about this probably,
be heard.
the, one talking about EO7.
that's why I was getting these out of the way first and getting to that. But I thought that one might be, you guys both good with FO7 then? Okay, EO7. Now, yeah. So FO7, original note says it was set midway on this line. Up here, EO6 says it's on the section line per deed, so that's how I established EO7. I intersected this and intersected that. Didn't even know, to tell you the truth, until later, how close I came to a split of that line when I did that. But I came
Oh,
really
yeah, that
close.
is-
Yeah, I didn't even realize that. I was looking at it later when he ran out, I was like, oh, wow, I didn't realize it.
But this equal distance business would put
Yeah, that's
this
true.
a lot closer to the pin.
That's
that they're doing
true.
now, where they
Yeah.
were tied off before. Maybe that's
Yeah.
where they came from.
Equal distance, so it, yeah.
Like, you think that could have been it, how they established that bolt?
Um,
Um,
well, there's nothing over there, so no, not really.
Oh, because they didn't have this.
No, it's in a creek, always was in a creek. And the original notes had it in a creek also. The only thing about EO7 is Garrett's survey had a calculated corner there and he's about 18 feet different. Survey has no report and I can't come up with any theory of location whatsoever on what he had.
So you're saying we went from F07, press the bearing from the calculated position from Mulberry stump over to the west line of section A, and we're that close into falling.
That close to an equal split, isn't that
That
amazing?
really makes me feel good about that.
And I didn't even know that. I didn't even know. No, I know. Yeah. The only thing is, like we say, we're not that great on distance. Oh, and also, and I didn't show it on the survey, also down here between E07 and E09 is a gram pin, and it's about 2 feet off line, so I thought that was actually pretty good too.
Yeah.
2.5 feet. It's in the report.
Would it be safe for Mike to move to the next corner?
Good with seven's location because, you know, I mean, you're that close to that split. And then now you've got a spike at one end down here that we're fitting that close with the splits.
Yeah.
Those aren't original monuments, we know.
Okay, H07. This is an absolute first time in my career. There are 2 legal surveys that cite establishing that corner. Neither one references the other. And I found what I believe to be both stones. And they're about 18 feet apart.
You know which one came first.
Yes, I do. H07-1, I addressed that in the report. And I only know that because I found what I'm almost positive is the depression from an original reference from the second one. The other interesting kicker is the second stone, 072. There's a fence going north that agrees with it. The first stone, there's a fence going south that agrees with it. So as I addressed in the report, I didn't really necessarily make the call. I just laid all the information out. Said it's up to each individual, sir. I will also tell you that the fence going north, same person now owns both sides of it, so it's really a non-issue. The fence going south is actually a current property.
Possession line.
Yeah.
Between 2 different owners.
Yes.
And which one's it going south from? Sorry.
2.
Two.
No, one.
One.
It goes south from one.
It does go south from
And
one,
north
so
from 2, even though 2 is the farther.
correct, correct,
So north is a non-issue.
correct, because it's,
South, it is an issue.
it is an issue.
And stone 1 came first.
Correct. That was kind of my thinking too, but I thought ultimately I'd just draw it up and say,
What's the thing that looks like a rebar next to stone 2?
I found stone 2 first. I was so proud of myself and I drove it's got a witness cap on it. I said, man, I'm good. I went back to the truck, came back, got to looking at Myers' survey and I went, oh, that's not the stone Myers found. I got to look, I was like, oh, he must not have found anything. But I went back and found his and I was like, oh yeah, he did. His stone looks really good too. There's also 2 rebars there. One is closer to the one stone. There's a Gray Graham rebar. Neither of them are really close. And there's I don't remember who's the other rebar is. BRG maybe, or PFA, one of the 2.
Half distance between east half mile.
And the 2 old surveys aren't even that far apart.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. So if you've got a stone that is a possession line between 2 different owners and it came first,
Mhm.
I believe that is going to be the stone.
Yeah, if I was doing a survey, I would hold that too.
That's how I feel about that.
Yeah. But do you think I'm good with just addressing it as,
The one going north, now it's under common ownership, so
Right.
it kind of becomes a moot point in my
Kind of
opinion.
does.
I mean, it's,
right?
but now let me ask you. Now say that this owner up here owns both sides and they sell
They'll have-
one part of it based off of that old deed. Well, it comes controlling.
That's why I said it's up to each individual.
No, that's a bit out of line. And
No, you're right.
Rachel's looking at me like, why do you pick her right now? No.
But I'll add another question into that though. Stone number 2 is in the center of an old road bed that everybody thinks is the line. Stone number 1's north of the river.
Did you put anything by, okay, so you put a survey sign by number 1 and you put a rebar by number 2.
Yeah, and I put a survey sign on a tree south of it, but it was in the center of a road bed, so I couldn't put a sign right on it.
Yeah. So you kind of made it so other people would for sure find stone number 1 and maybe find, like landowners.
Yeah, yeah. And scratch their heads.
Yeah, I've found 2 stones before, but they called them out. The second guy called out the first guy. It's wrong.
Oh,
They were only 2 feet apart.
this was baffling to me. Like I say, I found it. Nobody ever found this one. I went in there, just walked in there and I was walking down the lane. I was
Found
like,
that one right away.
hold on. There's a stone sticking out. I dug around. I was like, oh, this is it. Shot it in, went back and then got to checking geometry against Myers survey and went, wait a minute. That's not where he shows it.
So you said he didn't talk about how he did it.
Well, he
The
just
second.
found the one.
No, the second surveyor.
Who was he surveying for?
Same survey that you were looking at earlier.
I meant this guy.
No, he did not.
Where the first guy said
Yeah,
he
he
split it,
didn't make any mention of the
or
first.
said it equal distance.
Or yeah, he didn't say how, why, anything about the prior survey. Maybe they didn't like each other. No, I don't know. Hard to believe that many years, no more, what's that, 30 years? I think 30 years later, you'd still find a reference train and still find the first stone.
Jason had to hop off, so it doesn't look like we were deferring to him, but
Very interesting.
we lost him.
It is.
So we're not, oh no, this is on the certification list, though.
It is, but like I say,
So what are we certifying?
that's a good question, because I just put in there all the information and said it's up to individual surveyors, which one affects them and which particular track they were surveying. I just kind of felt like it's reminding our duty just to address that, hey, there's 2 stones here.
Yeah, you're putting
You
everybody
could
on
look at-
notice.
You guys somebody may look at it. If I had to pick one, I'm like Eric, I would say, well, this was the first guy in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I called them 1 and 2.
Also, it's just
Do
a
you-
good corner to get some feedback on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what Brown's principles tells us to do, you know.
Oh.
I mean, that's what the BLM states for us to do, you know. The first surveyor is the one that.
That we're retracing.
Yeah.
Yep, he's the original surveyor in the establishment of that one.
So what's your thoughts?
I'm just a little uncertain about certifying it with both, without picking one
I
as a board.
agree.
Okay, so what is your pick?
Well, the fact that Mike didn't want to pick makes it hard for me to pick without having analyzed,
Well,
but
he did pick. He's got his line drawn through the one north.
I know, but he didn't actually pick on the tie sheet. I feel like I would like, I don't know, I guess it's just the old road is the only problem with not picking.
Right.
What's number 2?
Right.
And we can edit the tie sheet if, there's conditions to edit.
I'm just having to grapple with this idea of
Oh, I understand.
certifying a tie sheet that
I
has 2
understand.
corners on it.
It has 2
Oh.
possible answers. Yeah.
Cause I don't know, do you make it clear that like,
And ultimately, maybe the board just doesn't certify it and we just record it as, like, it's up to each
well, I
individual.
like the tie sheet being filed so somebody can get it and not just being shown as
Yeah,
pending, but actually being
yeah,
there when you click the link. But
maybe,
I don't know. What do you think, Eric?
Well, somebody's gonna have to determine.
I mean-
One or the other way, you know, whether it's the property corner or whether it is the quarter corner. In my opinion, the quarter is the first stone in.
That's what I think too. Yeah.
Now, the property corner is the second stone,
for the guy to the north, you mean?
which can possibly lead to an overlap.
But the guy to the north does own both sides.
Now he does. Yeah, it wasn't always that way.
But now he does. And if we know that's the 16th and if his deed is written aliquot, then it shouldn't go to the fence line anymore. If
But
he-
his deed is written in two pieces. Like Eric said, he could
Are they
potentially sell.
aliquot pieces though? Because if the
Uh,
16th is the controlling point of his deed and the possession lines are a non-issue when he sells, because he owns on both sides, then when he sells, you could say it goes back to the true 16th corner. But if his deeds are written meets and bounds,
yeah, I don't ever.
I know, I like what you have to say. I mean, I've wrestled with that thought before in the past. You know, so when you've got a stone on maybe either side and you calculate where a surveyor that comes in the second time and you find that person's monument and you've got a predecessor. And when I'm talking about a predecessor that comes from a legal survey book that said that he set a stake, I feel that it is the first guy in. I've had it argued before that it was because this is the scenario, and you guys tell me what you think. You've got a section broken down, and then you have this area right here, and a surveyor in the 1800s in a legal survey book sets all of these, calls them out as stakes. Later on, you have another surveyor, but now these here were created in this survey, all these markers. Now ownership becomes to where they own both sides of the quarter section line. This owner now has all of this, okay? Now, if they convey a deed that is an aliquot deed, what controls? If they sell this right here,
You go back to the first survey because it
Right
was
there.
aliquot.
if they sell that, what controls? If it is the aliquot part. If a second surveyor comes through and establishes a position, either here or here, say that he's trying to establish this, right? This is the point of interest. And he either comes here or here in his survey. What controls when this is the first deed out? If this is the whole property and the original owner says, I'm conveying to you, grandson, this, and then later conveys out this, and this surveyor comes through and says, this is the corner. Where's it at?
The way the deed was written, then it goes back to the original aliquot line, in my opinion.
What's your thoughts on that, Rachel?
well, I think I didn't quite understand the question because if we're doing our best to put back this corner,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So there's not a discrepancy then, right? Because
Okay.
we only have one location for this corner.
Well,
That's
okay,
what I don't understand
okay,
about the question.
all right,
Sorry.
this corner is now gone, okay?
Yeah.
This surveyor here established all these corners, okay?
Yeah, so can we
Now-
put this one back from all these other ones or?
Because you've got another stone over here, right? And so you're able to calculate this aliquotly. But this other surveyor, the secondary surveyor, comes through and he lays this point at a different location than you came up with it. So you've proportionate measured this based on the stone monuments that you have found. And this original owner has got it in two different transactions, all of this. So basically they own
So they-
the middle swan.
merged the lines, but then when they resold, they sold based on their original.
They sold
had
based
two
on the
deeds.
original deed. They sold on the original deed, this aliquot part.
But that's not where the possession line
Right.
was.
Which one did they sell first?
This one.
So by the aliquot part, they sold that off
Mhm.
and they kept the remainder. And then they had the remainder
And then-
surveyed
Uh-huh.
in a different location. For
Where
the
they
aliquot
thought the
part.
line wasn't where they.
I don't know. Take some puzzling.
I think as a surveyor, you have to go back to the original line, but there may definitely be unwritten rights involved there as to property between that original line and.
There could be unwritten rights.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
I agree.
putting this location back, you would go back to this survey for sure. I don't know.
That's a good question. That's a really good
It's
question.
like when you have, when your easements dissolved, when you own the
Or when
land
you buy the land
and then,
now.
and then you don't have that easement anymore.
Yep.
And I don't know, like, what happens when you own all the land around it, then any kind of adverse possession restarts, right? Like, the fence lines aren't,
But what if?
they're not necessary for title lines anymore, but they still could be useful for putting back in. For surveying, if we're trying to retrace. Right?
Agreed. I mean, you could use a possession line, but that's what I'm saying. If you've got a secondary survey, okay, if you sell out that quarter set or that 1/2 quarter section right there is now senior title, right? Now,
Yeah.
Now, senior, now that being said, I feel that in order of importance is one of the highest here. And
It's, and you had it surveyed, so you're putting back this corner.
Well-
Based on the 1800 survey,
but based on the 1800
and
survey,
then
then
you're selling this by aliquot,
So you sold that out.
so it goes back to wherever that is.
Okay, but they sell this remainder
And they
Later-
establish the quarter in a different spot.
and they just established it in a different position.
But if it came later, then the first position would still hold. wouldn't it?
Based on how they wrote the description, yeah, when they wrote the description to that aliquot part, then they were referring to the original.
Yeah. And this,
So,
was a-
subdivision.
this was a good faith location of that aliquot part, but
Mhm.
a later retracement found more stones and did it more thorough, kind of like Mike just did on the mulberry tree and the foundation,
Mhm,
right?
mhm. So.
And move the corner.
Controls.
Well, it doesn't, I don't think it, I don't
Control.
think it matters that the guy owned on both sides.
Yeah.
If he sold it out as an aliquot part first and there was a prior survey. And then this survey came after he'd already sold out the aliquot part. Then I don't see how this survey would control over the aliquot part that had already been sold. If it came first. I mean, if that was all like the same time, it would be different.
Depends on how they wrote the deed. If they wrote the deed selling to the second survey line, if they'd known what they were doing, but they didn't. They just said,
But if they sold the first one out first and then the survey comes along, however many years later? Or is it like all done at the same
A
time?
year later.
a year later.
So
Wow.
they sell the aliquot part and then why did they have to do the survey? Why did they have to do the survey?
Do
This,
the third survey or the first or the?
no, the second one.
The,
This is the legal survey. Why did they have to do this one? They sold the aliquot part off. Didn't this person just end up with the remainder? Why did they do that second survey?
good question. I mean, now,
Was it because these two people were like, oh, we need to know where the line is between us? In which case the survey might.
right, exactly. Now, what if it on that end of the deed, it says subject to a survey
That would change everything.
based on what?
Because now you're
What-
calling for a survey.
What, okay, a call for a survey. I agree. Subject to. the
Which
survey.
survey?
Now, can you refer to subject to a survey in the future?
Thanks.
No.
I think if you're saying, hey, we want to get this. Normally what people will do now, right, is like they need to do a closing, they can't get a surveyor. Then I'll tell them like, well, can you just do contract option, like with the people and say, we're gonna buy this.
But you already told.
We're gonna buy this subject to a survey, but we can't get the survey done in time, so we're gonna do a contract to purchase the land. And then, once you get the survey done, then they purchase it. Like a agreement, option, what is it called? Not a contract sale, but like a
Agreement.
purchase agreement.
Okay, well,
So it could be like, kind of like that, where they were like, okay, well, we're gonna sell you this half quarter. Subject to when we get the survey done. And we'll finalize where that line is. But this is about what we're selling. I could see that,
so now.
but
wait,
nowadays you would do it.
So
as a
now,
purchase
which,
agreement, not fee.
okay, so which, now if the surveyor that comes along missed the stones, didn't reference the stones, now what?
Well, then those parties were agreeing on that location.
Where are they?
If the deed said, subject to the survey that we're gonna get.
So I guess to maybe bring it back to kind of the certification of these corners, because I don't want to put a tie sheet that has 2 reference calls to it. I think, our goal here is to hold a position. I think it's worth having a conversation. Again, I think this kind of goes back to a lot of what I feel like I've just been providing lip service of, because that, I'm preaching to the choir that, we'll find ourselves in tough calls, but I think we need to determine to hold one position.
Would you be willing to hold
and-
hands?
Well,
If that's not something that I think,
I mean, I'm willing to say, well, I don't know. Well, what can I say that I haven't already said? This is the first one. I've already said that.
Just make it the second one black instead of white or red and then just say HO72.
Yeah, as long
Probably already
as I
said
still have to address an uncertainty, but as long as I address uncertainty, sure, I can do it.
Address the uncertainty and say, this could be a property corner,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
I'm choosing the first one as the 16th
Yeah,
corner.
I'm good
Just
with that.
like Eric said, you kind of already are the way you.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I did. Yeah. Yeah, I told Jason to make sure and draw it through that one. That was the first one. And it also fit my agenda over here better.
I would feel comfortable certifying it if you chose HO71 and
Okay. Yeah, I
And
can do that
still
right
left-
at that.
all the stuff about HO72 in there.
Yeah, I can do it. Yep,
How about
I'm
you,
good with that.
I'm good with HO7.
I am too.
And like Rachel said, I mean, it's a 16 corner, but I think that it's, more importantly, it's a property corner for HO72.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you're leaving the next surveyor the choice to pick whichever one
Oh,
they
well,
want. We don't have to pick one.
in any case, we're always leaving somebody a choice, whether we all certify to it or not.
right, that's, which is the part, right? Do all that
Like, meaning,
someone just comes around and just disagrees with all of that. Yeah, it'll be, I mean, what's really important is kind of, again, here's lip service. Is that we're creating documentation, that could be very helpful when we get into matters of what was just discussed more, thorough, about kind of, the line of occupation, like who, when it impacts property rights. So,
Yeah, I'll figure out. Right.
yeah, and,
Say my
I'll mark that one
certification is
here.
number one being the original. And
I will say we're at 6:00. I had to plug in my phone. It seems like we're getting pretty close to the end. Everyone knows I really probably try to keep these at around an hour and a half at the longest, so we're pushing about 2 hours. Mike, if if the board wants to try to just bring this back, we can, but if we're able to get through it, that's fine. So,
Stay, it's up to you guys.
all right, well, just.
Let's go to IO6 next. I think it's another pretty obvious shoe in. There was an old limestone post initially. This is kind of wild. Initially, I was gonna hold that limestone post. I went to drive a steel post beside it and hit the actual stone beside it with the steel post. So it was right up against it. So I'm confident it's the stone in the legal survey book. Marcus has a rebar like 60 feet north that he calls the 16th corner. The landowner even knows about the limestone post and they're like, we always wondered why we had an extension. And I'm like, I don't think you do. And she worked for a title company, so she actually understood quite a bit.
Is there a card for,
IO6, I don't see
Yeah.
that as part of the individual files.
Should be a card for it. I remember drawing it up.
Did not get included in here.
Okay.
Yeah, if you go to the overall, I know they're, I say 99% sure. It just got not get added to the packet. Is that what?
It looks like it, I can't, what would be helpful to go to?
scroll down a little bit so you can see that monument accessories.
Is it,
It's on the list.
it's on the list for certification, okay.
Is that 10740, the 60-foot? Yeah,
Yes,
that's
it
the
is.
Farkas.
66 and a half, actually, yeah. I have no idea how he ended up at.
Can we see the picture of it?
One chain.
Here it is. It's gonna,
When year did Farkas do it?
Yeah, we stuck a magnet on this time. That limestone post is right there against it. I had the Farkas survey, but it's very vague. Some lines and distances is about all it shows you.
Didn't know if I was prior EDM days.
I don't know how he skipped right over that. Actually, I shot the Farkas pin first and I was like, oh my gosh, this is nowhere like where I'm coming up with. And told Ethan, I was like, it don't sound crazy, but walk up the hill 70 feet and he's like, oh yeah, here it is.
You're on the verge of it, you know.
go to theory, this,
Yeah, just found basically.
was found
That's 82.
from, Bus Kirk.
I feel like Farkas was doing pretty decent work in the early 80s. The surveys don't show anything. But
No,
it's like he
just
did,
showed a bearing and
he did do breakdowns and then he just doesn't, he doesn't show them, but when you find some stuff, I don't know.
It depends who was working with it.
Yeah, that's what it is.
hasn't been my observation, but
I mean, you kind of realize, I mean, there was some surveys that was turned out of that office. That Jess Wyndham was working with.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure I did
Well,
speak.
that was the deer.
I did realize that.
But same difference, you know, you've had some surveyors come through, it's just they, surveyors, they could.
That I have that survey in this folder, but I have looked at it. And it's, like I say, it's just a bunch of bearings and distances. It doesn't give you any breakdown in any way.
I don't need to see it.
I'm good with the stone.
Yeah,
You wanna,
The stone guy.
just
Now.
just asking questions.
That brings us to the one that we'll probably have the most discussion on.
Oh,
IO7. There's a lot of possibilities for IO7. There's a pin 20 feet north of the post I took. I don't see any situation that would lead me to that pin. What it is, there's an old road bed through here. There's fences on both sides of the old road bed. There's a fence intersection here. There's a fence intersection here. Farkas, for some reason, decided to hold this post. Some of the old surveys say FP fence post. At some point, the post fell and somebody said a 1/2-inch rebar. I presume, I don't have history for sure of that. Down here, you have another nice treated fence post. Just by everything I came across, this one fits way better than the 120 feet, especially when you factor in the 2/16 cornerstones. And also there's a original survey distance. Well, this isn't set yet. This is I'm gonna set it, extending that up to there. It's in a cornfield is the only reason it's not set yet. But you may want to read the report on that. I came up with every possible scenario I could. I spent a lot of time probing for, and if anything, I feel the original was probably a little south of that post. Not a whole lot.
So definitely not in the center of the road.
I couldn't really justify the center of the road either, other than occupation, I guess you could.
It's one of those older passes, like 16 feet wide or so.
According to some neighbors, it's an old township road. But it's not straight either. It zigs and zags through there and follows terrain features. My best case scenario, like I say, is that treated post seems to be kind of all my little theoreticals. It seems to be about in the center of all of them. It's like, well.
That Bean Blossom would be easier. That's the area.
There has been several surveys based off of that pin 20 feet north, including the Arcus that has the other pin 66 feet. What really caught me too, like I say, was this legal survey book distance.
Yeah.
We doubled that from the post through that stone. We ended up coming really close to that.
But the corner to the north was established based on a push through from the wood post to the stone up the exact distance.
Yes, doubled the distance because that stone says in the legal survey that it was set midway.
That's, so part of your, well, here you have a stone and a post, and this distance matches even worse.
Yeah,
If you're further
come south
north.
of it a little bit, it would be south of the 3 or 4, and I addressed that in the report. That was one scenario I addressed.
So
What would this bearing look like if you went up to the 20 feet?
It's in the report, actually. I don't remember. I think it would be 4 feet south, something like that. I addressed every scenario I think you could come up with.
So,
Oh, that is-
question on legal surveys in the area. We've got a stone to the south on the section line. We've got a stone to the north on the section line. Did he or set anything here at this?
Yes.
Or-
Yes.
And how did he establish that?
I
Was these all part of the same survey?
believe they were, as I remember. Yes.
And
I hunted quite a bit trying to find an old reference tree evidence.
pull up that survey, Tron, it would be,
For IO7, I see, legal survey book 2, page 487. Referenced.
Number one was a walnut.
487?
Yeah.
I think it would be under section 9. There we go. So the ones to the south were all on the same one. Or the one to the south.
But then you said the one to the north was set equal distance.
Yes.
Survey.
Yes.
so that one, okay, so that was the section to the east.
To the east,
That's what
yeah.
I was looking at.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
I was staring at it, I wasn't
Yeah.
even pulling it together.
Yeah, that's 9 to the.
Okay,
Let me know if I could zoom in or hanging around.
so
Sound tired, John.
this,
I was gonna eat a salad, but then I didn't get to. Now it's gonna be dinner and a salad.
Can you bring up book, page 473 also? Same book?
473.
That might be under the section 8.
Hmm.
It's up here.
Like you need to pan down. Not the top one. It's not that. There we go, section 9. Fence the west half mile post. There's where I got my 157 poles, 11 lengths, which is really close. Set of stone and open ground. Yeah, also planted stone and open ground for corner at half distance, which is I-06.
So that's that's the same guy probably, right?
Who was?
Because it was just really close in time, or really close in the book, 470.
Mm-hmm.
So he ran 157 poles, 11 links.
That's up here.
It's on there.
He split it. Way he's supposed to. And then later,
But not much later,
but
right?
not much later, he splits this, right? That's what he would have had to have done, to split this.
Correct.
So, okay, so that gets us these two.
Could split between them. Is that one of your
I
scenarios?
addressed that scenario
Yeah.
because I know you like to do it.
And then the next thing is, did this one come to be? This one was,
That's the one.
That's the one you're looking at right there. Yeah.
That's. the
oh,
one
he
that
split
you
half
said.
distance. I'm sorry.
So that's May 2nd, 1889. Where's the other one? Sorry, I'm too slow on
I may or may not have said.
487.
17th.
18.
Are you talking?
So the same, Eric, it's the same guy, 7 months later or 8 months later, working in the same section. So yeah.
If you guys can come up with a better position than that post, man, I'd be for it.
I don't know.
I could.
So I mean, I like the alignment here.
Yeah,
Between the stones. That's not even,
Right.
you know, it's just. Had I had done it, I would have probably split it. You know, I'd have put it at 1303 and 1303.
you mean between the 16th cornerstones?
Probably what I would have done.
And we can, but we could go back and set a pin. I mean, it's not gonna be very far from that post. I thought maybe the post was there for a reason. It's a good treated post. It's in concrete. It's not like any of the other posts.
That tells me it's a newer post.
It is, yeah, it's not,
Okay. What's your thoughts on it, Rachel?
I
I mean-
can see myself going back and forth and checking every scenario.
and I did, yeah.
No, I don't know which one I would have landed on. But
I understand.
I think my gut, first thing is, we'll just
Split this.
split between those two stones because it's the same surveyor within a year. So that seems like a good way to put it back. But Mike's not putting it back. He's saying, I found it, it's post 3 feet away. Right, basically, which seems fine to me too.
It's
And I would maybe do the same thing.
not terribly out of line.
Well, that brings us to like a conclusion of the review, I guess.
Other than I-05, which you can see I did extend, but it's not set yet because it's in a standing cornfield. But that's
Wait, did
where
we
I'm
do
going to put it.
GO5?
We didn't do GO5.
And did we do EO?
EO5 was prior.
Okay,
Did
so we did
GO?
EO5 and EO9 prior.
GO5 wasn't prior.
No, we didn't. We told, and that's a kind of another interesting discussion, but I don't think there'll be any questions on it.
And we do have that on, sure. Okay, I just thought the north line was.
Yeah, no, GO5, There's one where I called a prior survey of my own wrong. I did the alignment the same. There's this pin over here, 10316. You've been there too, Eric. It's a pin with a metal cap. I think it's Graham. I don't necessarily like its alignment with everything else, but from here, 1,700 feet going west, all the fence lines up with it. So I held it as a point on the north line, extended through that, then distance-wise, I split equally between these two to establish that. Though it ended up putting kind of a kink in the north line, but like I say, if we went straight lined it, we would really create some havoc.
And it doesn't create havoc with what you did before.
Yeah, more with what he's done. Other than I think I got a little bit of a bad GPS shot on that pin when I'm my prior survey, because I was expecting my northing to be the same and I was a couple feet difference.
I mean, I'm looking at it, just talking out loud here to myself. I start over here on the west line of the section, and we're pretty darn close to a split. I'm okay with that. Then I come over here and I look at what Mike's done on this side. He's doubled down. That sounds plausible to me. I mean, the guy ran it at 157 holes. It's supposed to be 40 chains. It's not terribly out of line. I mean, I'm looking at 2649. I'm looking at that center run here. Running north from the center section. So originally it was supposed to be a 2640. You're saying by extending that out another 866 feet, we're at 2640. What do you got as far as evidence around any?
Nothing. No, there's
No calls and any deeds, anything like that?
the only thing I noted was, I think originally it was 33 feet from the top of the bank of the creek, and now I'm 16 or 18, but you know, easily could have moved in 200 years.
Is that the aluminum cap? What is that we're looking at?
Yeah, that's it.
Did I see that one? The only one that I was thinking that was setting aluminum caps was Darnell.
No, we're doing
No,
it.
this is our
Oh,
county surveyor
okay,
cap. Yeah.
okay.
And then the only reference survey was
Hey,
Shepherd.
threw my own pin out by about 13 feet. Mostly easting, so it didn't really affect my job, so to speak. I had proportioned off of a fence line even farther east, and it's the right thing to do now, I know.
Did we miss any other corners? I'm sorry.
I think that's it.
That covered it.
That is it.
Rachel, what's your thought process on it?
I kind of like it.
I have one
I don't
question.
like the 50 more feet longer, but I like that it touches it.
I have.
I mean, because the break in the north line.
I
Yeah.
mean, I don't like how long that is, but I do like that this
Oh,
possessional matches
Yeah.
up.
yeah, we would really.
Aerial? Kind of showing that section line?
One thing I don't have pulled up.
What 50 feet are you looking at, Rachel?
Thank
Oh,
you,
just,
Eric.
this is 2,600 and.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm making you earn it tonight.
No.
Back to 20.
And I'm not really trying to make you earn it either. 'Cause
So-
It's not
But
me.
I know it's
No,
not where you would have
No,
put it
I'm not doing it.
if it weren't
Um,
for this,
Probably.
and you're really just retracing.
Truthfully, that's probably.
Yeah,
all right.
He's kind of made us bound to it at this point in the game.
yeah, that's what I'm. Like, and your only other option is to do something like Eric did on the
Builder.
other survey. Of go from this pin over
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
to preserve
change
this
it.
line.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Mike's like, heck no, I'm not doing that.
If it,
You and I have both done surveys based on this extension too, I will point out.
go on, I'm gonna.
No, both of us have, both of us have.
He disagreed.
Trying to bring,
Well, like I say, I threw mine out there.
oh man, the portal's not gonna work for us. Or maybe, oh, there we go. Cool.
I was just curious to see the possession line down through there.
No, I mean,
Yeah, from here, it just kind of, well, it goes down it just goes a little ways and then it drops down a massive hill. There is a couple posts. I just know that from a private survey. They're pretty close to on this alignment also.
How's possession on this
Yeah.
line, do you know?
There's none, that's across.
is that,
Yep, you're on it there, dude. Just turn on there.
Downs both sides.
all right,
You said the same guy owns both sides on this.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, this line is completely in a crop field.
Oh, okay.
this is a
That,
pretty interesting survey.
this is Rest National Wetlands, no, where stupid aerials are they down here? Okay, yeah, 3-inch. Hopefully I don't crash anything. Okay, let me know where you'd like me to zoom.
yeah, just zoom in on that north line of 8.
North line
Or
out
scroll to
of
the
it.
west just a little bit.
right here.
I see now.
There's that little.
That all makes sense. And I know, but now that's darn on me where that's at. I could not envision where that's at, but yeah,
You did a fairly recent survey out there.
yeah, it's that one that had to do with
Probably this guy right here.
AT&T is right there on that line.
Right off.
You drop off over that
You did the
cliff,
south and I did the north.
it's pretty much a cliff.
It is, yeah. Yeah, very much.
That was yours.
Got nothing better.
Well, I had one question, and that's with this, as far as if we move to a motion and we're looking at certifying this, the H, 07, should we change the naming convention or anything like that? Mike, what's your thoughts on that? If we're ending up,
Because that's what it is. It's H07, the first one said, and H07, the second one said.
Yeah, I think that survey's fine. Like on EO7, you have the offset kind of labeled the same as the corner.
and then,
And we can understand what's going on.
and we'll just highlight the other one on the tie card.
I think just making it that we made a decision to hold.
I'll come up with some way to word it out, then I'll say, yeah.
Well, yeah,
I'll just say that, yeah. I'm gonna certify my opinion.
maybe
Number one is the,
I don't have any note where we talked about GO9.
it was brief, we did, but
Yeah, I've got mine.
pound
I
stone,
have mine marked okay.
yeah, it's just a pound stone. It's
did you say G09 or E09?
G.
G. I dismissed that one.
It's the one we were talking about Tron being dressed up in a schema.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That was like an hour ago, so. And I'm about that cold now.
You'll be wearing that ski mask again because of the derby here.
So I guess, if we've concluded the review, which I'm gonna safely say we have, be looking for a motion to approve, the corners here. I could state it, and unless someone else would like to state it, I can bring up the two, corners that we have conditions on. Or should I just go ahead and,
Can state it.
all right. So we'd be looking for a motion to approve Bean Blossom E06, Bean Blossom E07, Bean Blossom F07, Bean Blossom G05, Bean Blossom G07, Bean Blossom G08, Bean Blossom G09, Bean Blossom H07, Bean Blossom I05, Bean Blossom I06, Bean Blossom I07, Bean Blossom I08, and Bean Blossom I09. I will also indicate that this is Township 10 North, Range 2 West, and with the conditions of section corner Bean Blossom G07, that we fix the ink overlay on page 2 of the tie sheet as highlighted on the screen. And we depict what corner we're going to highlight on here as noted that Bean Blossom H07 number 2 will be standard black text, and Bean Blossom H071 will be the red text with a no in the theory of location to address that change. And we'll leave that to the discretion of Mr. Shepherd to write in the theory.
Also need a, what's the word? What do you say that, you also need to know that I05 hasn't been set yet, so that's also a
Okay, and with the condition
condition.
that I05 is
Set,
That-
the corn's out.
set as soon as the corn is out. I could try to repeat that. Okay, there, we have a so moved, so we have a motion. Do we have a second? And we have a motion and a second. Since Mr. Boardman had to leave to pick up his child, I'll just quickly say that most of the time we're out before that becomes an inconvenience. So totally understand. I'm glad he was able to be here to attend. I will go ahead and do a roll call versus a voice vote just due to that fact. Eric Deckard,
Yes.
Rachel Ozer.
Yes.
All right. Corners are certified. We'll go to the public. We have one champion with us still, Ethan. Thank you so much for sticking around. Yay. And yes, thanks. This was pretty cool. There were a couple comments that Mike alluded to of Ethan being boots on the ground with some of the perpetuation efforts, and came across a couple other highlights of his initials and
Introduce him to
records.
First Yellow Jackets nest.
So yeah,
Fun.
so moving forward, these will be referred to in years to come. So. And thank you for joining us today. He's also going to be compensated for being here, but he does get to see kind of the end loop of how this all goes together. So
Very serious about pursuing licensure.
yeah, and he's yeah. So with that, there's no other public here, no one in the room. We'll come back to the board. Adoption of the next meeting minute. Donna left. She usually tells us stuff like that. She might have put it in a text message. She had to go. If not, don't worry. We'll reach out to you this week to kind of give you the date that we have sent. If we need to reschedule, we'll make sure that we comply with all the noticing and other requirements as always. So that moves us to adjournment. So,
Motion to adjourn.
we are adjourned. Awesome. Ethan, thanks so much. Yeah, I'm gonna shut us down as much as I can. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.